Quad bag alert, quad bag alert, quad bag alert, quad bag alert, folks. That's right. We got a loaded episode full of twists, turns, hot takes, truth bombs, and more. Man, oh man, have things been crazy within the last 24 hours, okay? Quentin Lake, John Jenkins, Cole Van Lanen, and Charles Cross all get paid. John Harbaugh gets fired. Black Monday transactions, Steelers versus Ravens recap, and my thoughts on the 26 draft class, okay? All of this and more on the 102nd episode of the Football Junkies podcast, okay? I am your host with the most, all right? I'm your hopium dealer. That's right. All the hopium that you need to make it through the playoffs, I am the guy that you go to, okay? I'm your chief bag roll damas. That's right, chief, head of the table, anything and everything related to the bag, rumors to the bag, and more. I am your GM who currently is not on the team right now, but don't you worry about it, all right? Don't you worry about it, because guess what? I am all these things and more. But most importantly, the most important thing that you must remember is I am your host, Kale. Buckle up. It's going to get crazy. For all intents and purposes, we might have some more news that may be breaking. So guess what? On three, one, two, three, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. So, before we get into the good stuff, because I know everybody wants to talk about John Harbaugh, I want to talk about John Harbaugh because there's a lot that needs to be said about that one specific situation. We got to talk about these bag alerts, okay? So, let's just get this thing out the way as quickly as possible. So, Quentin Lake, safety for the Rams, inks a 3-year, $42 million deal, $25.7 million guaranteed. He'll be making $14 million a year. When we look at his stats from this season, 61 tackles, 1 sack, 7 quarterback pressures. He was targeted 48 times and allowed 33 receptions for 341 yards, 1 touchdown, and had 1 pick. So for starters, I'm glad the Rams got this deal done because I knew that Quentin Lake was going to garner a lot of interest from a lot of teams in free agency, and I knew that if he was to hit free agency, the Rams probably wouldn't be able to get him back. The fact that they were able to hash this deal out at the time that they did is actually really good. Quentin Lake is somebody that is really effective in the slot as well as, in his natural position at free safety. But I just love his style of play because that's what the Rams need. They need somebody that can do the dirty work in the secondary, and Quentin Lake is one of those guys. Now on to the other bag alert. So John Jenkins, defensive tackle for the Ravens, inks a 1-year, $1.9 million deal, $345,000 guaranteed, and he'll be making $1.9 million a year. When we look at his stats from this season, 39 tackles and 1 sack. A good deal for a journeyman. It's not going to break the bank, and you're just taking care of business. And honestly, that's what you have to do sometimes. With this extension being done, do the Ravens view John Jenkins as a depth piece? And the only reason why I say that is because most likely Nnamdi Madubuike is going to medically retire. So with him being out of the picture, all you're going to have left is Aeneas Peebles, Travis Jones, and now John Jenkins. So most likely they're going to have to address defensive tackle at some point in the offseason, whether that be in the draft or in free agency. Keep a bookmark on that moving forward, okay? Now let's talk about Cole Van Lanen, left tackle for the Jaguars, who inks a 3-year, $51 million deal, $32.5 million guaranteed. He'll be making $17 million a year. When we look at his stats from this season so far, according to PFF, he's allowed 1 sack, 5 hits, 21 total pressures, and 4 penalties. Now, at first, when I saw this deal, I was like, wait a minute, did the Jaguars just overpay for Cole Van Lanen? Then I had to think about it. I was like, let's give this some time. Let's just see exactly how much he's going to be making a year. And then once it finally came out, I was like, oh, this is average. This ain't bad at all. Because according to Spotrac, right now, Cole Van Lanen is the 29th highest paid left tackle in the league. That's not bad. That's actually really good when you really break it down. Now on to the final bag alert, and that is Charles Cross, tackle for the Seahawks, inks a 4-year, $104.4 million deal, $75 million guaranteed, and he'll be making $26.1 million a year. When we look at his stats for this season, according to PFF, he's allowed 2 sacks and 4 hits. With that being said, Charles Cross is now the 5th highest paid tackle in the league, which is expected because Charles Cross has had a really good season so far, and I would venture to say he's probably going to get an All-Pro nod this year. So it's only right that the Seahawks take care of him. John Schneider goes under the radar for all the moves that he's made, but he's a really good GM and he continues to show why he's one of those guys. You've hit on Charles Cross. You're hitting on JSN. You're hitting on your running backs. So far, Nick Emenwari looks like a hit. So far, Tyreek Woolen looks like a hit. And that's just recently. If we take this thing to another level, I mean, this is the same guy that drafted Earl Thomas, Bruce Irvin, James Carpenter, DK Metcalf, Frank Clark, Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson. I could continue to go down this list. And I didn't even realize that he was hitting on his draft picks like this. But I mean, man, he's been cooking. And I would venture to say the Seahawks are probably going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. Rams fans, don't hurt me, please. Eagles fans, don't hurt me, please. 49ers fans, don't hurt me, please. But that's just my opinion. I believe right now the Seahawks have the best team in the entire league right now. Don't hurt me, okay? Now let's talk about this John Harbaugh situation because everybody has been speculating. Everybody has been putting their 2 cents into this situation. And so I feel like I need to do so as well. Now here's the statement from Steve Bisciotti, owner of the Ravens, and I quote, "Following a comprehensive evaluation of the season and the overall direction of our organization, I decided to make a change at head coach. Today, I informed John that he has been relieved of his duties. This was an incredibly difficult decision given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach and most importantly as a great man of integrity. Throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humility and leadership. He and his family have been deeply embedded themselves in this community. For those profound contributions on and off the field, we should all be forever grateful. Our goal has always been and will always will be to win championships. We strive to consistently perform at the highest level on the field and be a team and organization our fans take pride in. I will always be grateful for the extraordinary hard work and dedication displayed by John and his staff throughout the many successful years. I wish he, Ingrid, and Allison all the best going forward. We now begin the challenging but exciting process of identifying the next leader of our football team. We fully understand the expectations of our fans and everyone in the Ravens organization. Finding another strong leader and partner who will reflect these high standards is paramount. We deeply appreciate our fans and will continue to work relentlessly to bring them, our city, and the extended community the success they deserve, Steve Bisciotti," end quote. Now here's the statement from John Harbaugh, and I quote, "Well, I was hoping for a different kind of message on my last day here. Someday. But that day has come today. It comes with disappointment, certainly, but more with gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude to the owner and organization who was willing to bring in a head coach who made his mark with special team success. A difficult thing to do, an appreciation for all the moments, all these years that are etched into eternity. I hope a legacy built on faith, always fighting, always believing, values built into an organization through a team that are worthwhile, good and lasting, and that are admired by fans and foes alike. Meaningful and impactful relationships with players through the years that I will cherish always, grateful for their strength and courage. Loyal partnerships in this wonderful building that grew into strong friendships through the toil and tempest of the job every day. Mostly to my treasured family, my Ingrid and my Allison, who are beyond compare in every way in the loves of my life, and my closest knit family and good friends who stick with you no matter what. Finally, to the author and finisher of our faith, gratitude for a journey beyond anything I could have dreamed of my own. All is well with my soul because of the good God who guides and sustains me, John Harbaugh." With that being said, John Harbaugh's overall record was 180 wins and 113 losses. Now, according to Diana Rossini, John Harbaugh refused to entertain any conversations about moving on from Todd Monken. Now, according to Jeff Zurbrich, John Harbaugh didn't have a chance to inform his staff of his firing. EDC and Sashi Brown informed his staff of this move. And according to Adam Schefter, John Harbaugh is the emerging favorite for the Giants head coaching job. Now that we've got all the sentimental stuff out the way, let's talk about this situation. The Ravens realized they were at an impasse, and they had to make a choice between their head coach or their Hall of Fame quarterback. Now, some people would choose the head coach. You're a fool. Choose the quarterback. And they made the right decision. We knew that John Harbaugh was on borrowed time. We knew that John Harbaugh within the last 3 to 4 years had to show up and win a Super Bowl. And he failed every single time. Now, you can blame the players. You can blame the execution of the play. You can blame this circumstance or that circumstance. But the fact of the matter is this. EDC in the front office went above and beyond to meet every single need that John Harbaugh had on that team. They traded for Roquan. They drafted Kyle Hamilton. They drafted Zay Flowers. They drafted Rashad Bateman. They brought in Derrick Henry. They've done it all. And the fact that you were unable to take this team to the Super Bowl is a discredit to you. You can't blame everybody. You can no longer blame your offensive coordinator. You can no longer blame your defensive coordinator. You can no longer blame players. You have to take this on the chin. Now, do I believe the ending of the Steelers game was the reason why they fired him? No. I think this was an accumulation of bad decision making over a period of time. Let's be honest here. You had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. You had the number 1 seed. The Chiefs came to Baltimore and you blew it. And literally during halftime, the reporter asked you, John, what do you want to see different in this offense in the second half of the game? You said you want to run the ball. You're the head coach. You can tell your offensive coordinator, let's run the ball. Because why? You're the head coach. But instead, you wanted to sit on your hands, you wanted to play reserve, and then you got eliminated. You go to the Bills, you get eliminated. So at some point, the line of excuses has to run out. And you have to take ownership on why this team hasn't been able to go to the Super Bowl and win. There's no excuses at this point. So with that being said, do I think John Harbaugh is a great coach? No. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a stabilizing force. And I think he's going to have a lot of impact on wherever he goes next. Let's really not sugarcoat this thing. When he first got hired by the Ravens, he was already ruffling some feathers. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube, type in Ed Reed Joe Buck interview. Ed Reed talks about how John Harbaugh carried himself those first few years when he joined the Ravens. And that rubbed a lot of those veteran players the wrong way. It rubbed Ed, Haloti Ngata, Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis the wrong way. Understand this, my fellow football junkies. Football is a production-based business. And when you are not producing, you have to go. Coaches can get fired. Coaches can get fired. Good coaches can get fired. Great coaches can get fired. You don't believe me? I got a list of people that got fired. Andy Reid got fired by the Eagles because you know why? He couldn't win the big game. He goes to the Chiefs. He solidified his legacy. Mike Shanahan was fired by Washington. Jimmy Johnson was fired by the Cowboys. Tony Dungy was fired. Tom Landry was fired. Hell, Bill Belichick was fired. Bill Belichick brought 6 championships to the Patriots. And he got fired. So if all of those legends can be fired, what makes you think you, John Harbaugh, cannot be fired? When you have been given everything that you need and more to be successful. It'll be different if you didn't have a quarterback. It'll be different if you don't have a left tackle, if you don't have weapons, if you don't have a run game, if you don't have good coordinators. But the Ravens did it all for you. But if we want to take things another level, the one move that should have been an automatic fireable offense was promoting Zach Orr to defensive coordinator. You knew, and everybody else knew, that Zach Orr was not ready for that position. But you promoted him to that position, and you brought in Chuck Pagano and Dean Pease to assist him in trying to find his way. I understand that you want to give people a chance. I have no problem with that. But when you're in your Super Bowl window, that shit's out the window. It's time out for, let's give him a chance. Let's see how things go. Maybe we give him a promotion. Screw it. Screw it. You're trying to win a championship. You're trying to maximize the window that you have. Because understand this, folks. Every year that you don't win the Super Bowl is a year wasted. And that's another year that your quarterback gets older. And you know that your quarterback isn't like a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Ben Roethlisberger. You need to maximize this window, but instead, all you've done is pissed on it. Year after year after year, you have pissed on it. And this is exactly why you haven't won a Super Bowl. Now, since we're talking about the Ravens, there's another person that we need to talk about because everybody's getting it today. EDC, step to the front. While I understand that EDC has done a good job in building this roster, I am not going to excuse you of the conservative mindset that you have addressing the needs of this team, specifically this season. How is it that you go an entire season without addressing guard and defensive tackle? I understand that you believe that you got to build this team, and I am 100% on board with that. I do believe that you got to build your team through the draft. That's how every successful dynasty and championship team is built. But at the same time, sometimes you need to bring in somebody else. I guarantee you, if you give EDC some truth serum and you ask him about Nandi Menabuke, I guarantee you he will probably say, we knew that he wasn't going to play this season by week 3. So if you knew that he wasn't going to play this season because nobody has said anything about his situation, let alone Nandi Menabuke, then you should have been hunting. And I mean exactly what I say. Hunting for a defensive tackle. You could have had Quentin Williams on your team. The Cowboys essentially gave up a second-round pick for this draft class and then a first-round pick for next year's draft class for Quentin Williams. And Quentin Williams would have killed 2 birds with 1 stone because you know why? He's effective in the pass game and he's a really good pass rusher. But instead, you wanted to be complacent. You wanted to sit on your hands and say, you know what? We're cool with what we have. And another thing, the Ravens should have hired Mike McDonald. Because had you made that move, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. I understand that John Harbaugh is long tenured, he's successful, he's great in the community, blah, 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 yada, 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 kiss babies, take pictures, who cares, right? Do you not see what's going on in Seattle right now? Do you not see the success that they're having right now under Mike McDonald? And mind you, that defense doesn't have a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, a Micah Parsons, a Nick Bonito. They got Boye Mafe. They got Ochina Nwasu. They got D-Law. They got Leonard Williams. And they're making it happen. You mean to tell me that you wouldn't want that in your building as a head coach? You're okay with just letting that walk? Are you serious? Because you care about John Harbaugh and you value the relationship that you have with John Harbaugh. But that's what happens when you have an organization full of people that are complacent with where they are and complacent with relationships instead of production. I would rather have a head coach and a front office who are at odds than to have a head coach and a front office who are buddy-buddy. Because you know why? The tension between the head coach and the front office, that needs to be felt. Because the only common ground that you guys need to have is winning a championship and the moves that it takes to build a roster that is able to win a championship. That's the only thing that you guys need to have in common. Everything else, who cares? I don't care if we don't have dinner together. I don't care if we have a night out on the town. I don't care if we don't have a retreat. I don't even care if we're neighbors. That means nothing to me. You know what matters? Us winning championships. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft hated each other. Till this day, they can't stand one another. But you know what? They came together and they won championships. So who cares? I'd rather win championships than to be liked in my own organization. But to add salt into an open wound, you are now approaching an offseason where you have to figure out what you're going to do with this roster. Lamar's contract has to be addressed. Roquan has to be addressed. Marlon has to be addressed. Your defensive line and offensive line needs to be rebuilt. You need to do something with Rashad Bateman. You need to figure out what you're going to do with Isaiah Likely. You have a lot of key decisions that you have to make that you can't just brush off. On top of that, you have to bring in a new head coach. And that right there alone is a whole other situation in itself. But you're okay with that. Let's talk about Steve Bisciotti too. I don't hate you for the statement that you put out. What I hate is the lip salad that you continue to feed Baltimore fans year after year after year. Don't tell me that you want to win championships. Show me that you want to win championships. Jerry Jones this offseason alone showed that he wants to win a championship. He moved off of his star player in Micah Parsons just so he can get more draft picks and he can get Kenny Clark. And mind you, there's a good chance that Jerry Jones might do something crazier in this offseason. He's showing that he wants to win. There are other teams that are showing that they want to win. The Ravens aren't. And that starts from the top all the way to the bottom. Steve Bisciotti, if you are serious about winning, you need to light a fire under EDC's ass and every single person in that front office. You need to let it be known from day one, from this point, on the 7th day of January in 2026, you need to all let them know everybody can get fired if we don't win the championship soon. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my neighbor. I don't care if you're the uncle. I don't care if you're the janitor. It don't matter. Because at the end of the day, we are here to win championships. That's what you said in that statement. You said that. So with you saying that you're trying to win a championship, show it. Prove to me and everybody else that you're trying to win a championship. Because all I continue to see is an owner that is complacent with where his team is. As long as you're doing well in the regular season, Steve Bisciotti doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. But let you start losing. Let you start having a season like this. Now things get a little bit tricky. Things get a little bit tense. Things get a little bit uncomfortable. But that's where championships come from. You had an opportunity of a lifetime to win a championship this year. If you win one championship, that justifies every single move that you made. And I've said this in previous episodes. All they have to do is just win one championship. I'm not saying you need to go on a 20-year run like the Patriots. Just win one. You mean to tell me you can't win one in a year where the Chiefs aren't going to the playoffs? Are you serious? Unacceptable. Now, when we talk about candidates for the Ravens, the two people that come to mind is Brian Flores and Jesse Minter. Now, the thing is this. Jesse Minter in some ways has an advantage over Brian Flores because Jesse Minter was a part of the coaching staff not too long ago. So there still could be some familiarity between Jesse Minter and the organization. Now with Jesse Minter's system, I think it's better overall because I think everybody on the defense is going to benefit from it compared to Brian Flores. Brian Flores, on the other hand, is more creative when it comes to his blitzes, which is good, but I just feel like if you really want to maximize the talent that you have on the defense, I would venture to say get Jesse Minter over Brian Flores. But either way you look at it, whoever you hire between those two, that's a good hire, honestly. But since we're talking about firings, let's talk about all the other ones that have happened. But before we do that, we got to pay some bills. Pardon the interruption, but this is your GM, your bag road Dominus, here to talk about RSS.com, all right? So if you guys already don't know, I am a RSS.com affiliate, and so I just want to tell you for just a quick moment about why you should choose RSS.com. So me personally, on my journey of podcasting, I was looking at different platforms just to find the right place. And I looked here, I looked there, I looked everywhere, but I checked out RSS.com and it was the best decision I ever made. From low prices to interactive analytics to as well as helping you with your distribution. RSS.com does it all. They just started a Slack channel where you can network and interact with other podcasters and even get some insightful tips on how you can increase your podcast even more. Also, RSS.com just launched their paid ads program. So now you can get paid for posting your content. All you have to do is just have 10 downloads and you're qualified for it. Who would want to get paid for doing something that they're passionate about doing? So head on over to RSS.com. I will be attaching my RSS affiliate link within the description. When you click on that link, I will be able to receive some compensation for it. And with that compensation, I will be able to give you guys a better product. A lot of that money will go towards upgrading the microphones, computers, new subscriptions for more analytical information that we can use for future podcasts, all of that and more. Thank you for your support, and thank you RSS.com for making me an affiliate. Now back to the good stuff. And we're back, folks. Let's talk about everything that has occurred so far since Black Monday. Now, for those of you who don't know what Black Monday is essentially the day after the regular season that has ended, where a lot of head coaches, GMs, coordinators, you name it, a lot of them get fired, unfortunately, okay? The current head coach openings are the Ravens, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, and Raiders, all right? Now, the current GM openings are the Dolphins and Falcons. Now, we all know Jonathan Gannon got fired, which personally I didn't like because you have pieces on the team. You have Walter Nolan, you have Will Johnson, you have Max Milton, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Paris Johnson, you have Trey McBride, James Conner. You have pieces. You just have to make things work, and that takes time. But what you can't do is uproot the progress that has already been made so far and just say, you know what, we're going to bring in somebody else. Because their vision and the way that they utilize those players may be different. But on to the Falcons. They fired Raheem Morris and their GM. I understand the GM firing, but I don't understand Raheem Morris. And the reason why I say that is because the Falcons towards the end of the season showed some promise. And I feel like they showed enough promise that you can hang your hat on and say, we're going to give you another chance. I understand that you guys are trying to win. I understand that you guys want to be competitive. But let's be honest, you don't have the infrastructure to be successful. And in order for your team to be successful, that requires you, Arthur Blank, in the front office and ownership, to be patient. But what you can't do is uproot all the progress that has been made so far, regardless if it's big or small. Instead, you have to give this thing time and then assess if things are going in the right direction or wrong direction. Now, as far as the GM getting fired, I understand that because you can't just give $100 million to Kirk Cousins and then draft a quarterback in the first round in the same year and think things are going to be hunky-dory. It's a dumb move. And then you give up another first-round pick to get James Pierce, which he's showing some promise, but you gave up a first-round pick that you need. You need that first-round pick this year, especially with it being a defensive draft class. You could have brought in another defensive tackle, another corner, another middle linebacker. But instead, you gave that up to the Rams. So now you've positioned the Rams to be successful within the next 2 years. Those are fireable offenses. Even when you look at his drafting, it hasn't been well. Sure, you drafted Drake London. Sure, you drafted Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts, Drew Dahlman, Avery Williams, Frank Darby, Bijan Robinson, Michael Penix. I can continue to go down the list. But of all his draft classes, how many of them are still on the team right now? Probably not a lot. You let Drew Dahlman go to the Bears and you didn't even fight for him. Those are the type of moves that are fireable offenses. On to the Cowboys. They fired Matt Eberflus. That's a no-brainer. The defense was not playing well this year. John Morton, former offensive coordinator for the Lions, he got fired. That's a no-brainer as well because there was a point in time where Dan Campbell took over the play calling for the offense. Anytime your head coach does that, you're most likely going to lose your job. The Commanders, on the other hand, a little bit of a head scratcher, especially with the offense, because with Jaden Daniels voicing his support for Cliff Kingsbury, I would have thought the Commanders would have tried to keep him, but Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn couldn't see things eye to eye, so that's probably why they went their separate ways. Which, side note, what really pisses me off is when they talk about, oh, we decided to part ways. That's a fancy way of saying I got fired. I understand that Andrew Berry is a really good GM and his vision might be great and whatnot. But this is the same GM that gave up 3 first-round picks and multiple day 2 and day 3 picks and gave the dumbest contract in NFL history to acquire Deshaun Watson. And you mean to tell me that you're going to keep him, but you're going to let Kevin Stefanski go? Are we serious right now? What sense does it make that I give up future assets that has pushed this franchise back for a quarterback that played less than 2 full seasons, and then I get to keep my job? That's the dumbest thing you could have ever did. But you know what? The Browns will be the Browns. Now, as far as Joe Schoen, how is it that you're able to stay on the team, but Brian Daboll gets fired? I understand that Brian Daboll did a lot on the field and off the field, and there's a lot of scathing reports about him. Okay, cool. But mind you, Joe Schoen is the reason why the Eagles won another Super Bowl, because he didn't want to pay Saquon Barkley. That right there alone should have been a fireable offense. And the fact that the Giants decided to keep him instead of just letting him go, there's no need in keeping him. He has shown that he cannot get the job done. You move heaven and earth to get Brian freaking Burns, which it is paying off very well. But then you draft Abdul Carter, even though you drafted Kayvon Thibodeau not too long ago, high up in the first round. Why would you do that? These are the type of things that make me wonder, how are you guys able to keep a job? What are you guys doing behind closed doors? Are you throwing these people under the bus? Because what are we doing? Giants, John Mara, you literally told Joe Schoen, sign Saquon. Well, you didn't say it directly, but you essentially said it in a roundabout way. You literally said Saquon Barkley is by far our most popular player. And Joe Schoen sat behind his desk, smiled like Mickey Mouse, and said, huh? Who in the world wants to sign a running back that much money? Who wants to do that? The Eagles did. And guess what? It worked. Because you know what? They're now Super Bowl champions. But on to the Ravens and Steelers game. So Lamar Jackson, 18 attempts for 11 completions, 238 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 13.2 yards per attempt, and a 61.1 completion percentage. Derrick Henry, 20 attempts for 126 rushing yards, 6.3 rushing yards per carry. Zay Flowers, 6 targets for 4 receptions, 138 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and 34.5 receiving yards per reception. Aaron Rodgers, 47 attempts for 31 completions, 294 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per attempt, and a 66 completion percentage. Jaylen Warren, 14 attempts for 66 rushing yards, 4.7 rushing yards per carry. Kenneth Gainwell, 9 targets for 8 receptions, 64 receiving yards, and 8 receiving yards per reception. While I understand that Lamar Jackson was playing, you should have had the same game plan that you had facing the Packers. And the reason why I say that is because in the first half, the Steelers couldn't stop the run game. So that should have already let you know, hey, we could run the ball successfully against these guys. But instead, you decided to take a detour, and that's the reason why you're not in the playoffs. Now let's talk about the defense, because I have a lot of questions for y'all. For starters, how is it that Chidobe Awuzie can go one-on-one against Calvin Austin without no safety help and get burnt the way that he did? Or better yet, why were you bad at tackling? These are the fundamental things that you would expect a team like the Ravens to show. But clearly they didn't. And that's one of the reasons why they lost. But I think the part of the game that really sealed the Ravens' fate was their inability to run the ball after Lamar Jackson converted that key 4th down play. Once you convert that 4th down, you're running the ball. You're trying to get as close as you possibly can to the end zone. Now I understand that they believe in Tyler Loop and whatnot, but why is it that you want to position him right there when you could have just ran the ball at least 5 to 10, maybe even 15 more yards? You have Derrick Henry. Just run the ball a couple more times, drain the clock a little bit down, just inch your way up the field, and once you feel like you're in a good spot, then kick the ball. But what you don't do is just clock it and think, oh, we're going to win this game. No, you didn't win the game. You choked the game away. But that goes back to coaching, because you should have realized that at that point, we need to run the ball as much as we can, get as close as we can to the end zone, then figure out what we're going to do from there. But instead, you felt comfortable because you converted on a key 4th down that you were good, that you had already sealed the game, when in actuality, you didn't. Was Todd Monken the reason why they ran the ball as much as they did against the Packers? Because that's what I believe. I don't think John Harbaugh would have done that. I think John Harbaugh would have tried to beat them in the air. Now, when we talk about the Steelers, however, offensively, I'm not really surprised because they don't have DK Metcalf, but you have to start including Pat Freiermuth more into the game. You can't just dink and doink him at different points of the game. Consistently give him the ball. The way that you use Jonnu Smith, you need to be doing that to Pat Freiermuth because he has the same ability to do that. Now, defensively, I'm frustrated with them because the safety play has been very inconsistent. Like, there was a point in time where Kyle Duggar got benched for Chuck Clark. Anytime that happens, that's a problem. And clearly it was because Zay Flowers was killing them deep. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to figure it out. And please, can we stop using Malik Harrison so much? Because clearly that's a tell. Anytime Malik Harrison is in, stop the run. You need to start including Peyton Wilson in because Peyton Wilson is a playmaker too. Now, the final thing we need to talk about, and this will be very brief, is the 26 draft class, okay? I'm going to let you guys know now, this is a defensive draft class. So if you're looking for pass rushers, corners, linebackers, whomever, this is the draft class for you, all right? The pass rush is going to be the spotlight of this class. You're going to have David Bailey. You're going to have Mason Thomas. You're going to have Ruben Bain, just to name a few, all right? This is a weak quarterback class. Now, before Ty Simpson declared for the draft, I was under the impression that Fernando Mendoza was going to be the only quarterback taken in the first round. Now, that's probably going to change. Now, me personally, I still believe that Ty Simpson should have went back to school. And the reason why I say that is because there is a history that shows quarterbacks who play more snaps in college tend to transition better into the league. Look at Anthony Richardson, for instance. I know that's probably a bad example, but Anthony Richardson doesn't have a lot of snaps. Ty Simpson doesn't have a lot of snaps. So why would you try to go into the league now when you know most likely you're going to be thrust into the fire? So most likely you're probably going to go to the Jets. Do you really want that? I don't think so. Now, with that being said, this is an emerging wide receiver class. You're going to have some options. Carnell Tate, of course, Denzel Boston, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson. I can continue to go down the list. You already know who they are, right? But I think there's going to be some other receivers whose draft stock is going to increase after the Shrine and Senior Bowl. Now, the linebacker class seems very interesting. You have Harold Perkins, you have Anthony Hill Jr., you have Sonny Styles, you have a little bit of Arvell Reese because he plays both inside and outside linebacker as well. So you have a lot of good options at inside linebacker, and there's probably going to be a few others that are going to rise up once the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl happen. With that being said, I think the cornerback class could also be very interesting as well. I know there's Malik Muhammad. I know there's one from LSU that's gaining a lot of attention. There's one from Indiana that's getting a lot of attention as well. So there's going to be some very notable names. I just believe, and that's just my personal opinion, I could be 100% wrong. Don't take anything that I say serious because I'm not a Todd McShay or Mel Kiper or any of those top end guys yet. I think this draft class is more appetizer than main course. And the reason why I say that is because you can use this draft class to either get more picks or to fill in holes on your team. Because 27 is going to be the draft class where you're going to want to take that big swing because you're going to have Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, and multiple quarterbacks to go after. So if you're a quarterback needy team, this isn't the draft class for you. 27 is the draft class for you. Even with Trinidad Shambles, because everybody's talking about him, everybody's raving, hooting, hollering, hearing about him. I think he's probably going to go back to school for one more year just to build his draft stock up, which is perfectly fine. Just don't take a quarterback this year. Fill out the rest of your team, whether it be tackle, guard, wide receiver, tight end, whatever. And then in 27, make the move that you need to make and get your quarterback, okay? But I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you were listening, please make sure you guys leave a 5-star review on anywhere and everywhere that you listen to podcasts, okay? We're available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. But if you want access to those places, you go on Google, type in rss.com, Football Junkies Podcast. It should be the first link. You click on that, and then there's another little bar that says listen to. You click on that and it'll take you to all the other places that we are available on, okay? Now, for my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on anything and everything that I have talked about in this episode. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let's have a debate. Now, for my YouTube people, you can follow us there at Football Junkies Pod, all right? Football Junkies Pod. When you go on our YouTube, there is a link tree. And when you click on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, whether it be the TikTok, the Instagram, the Blue Sky, Twitter, you name it, all that stuff is there. Okay, now for my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod. Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is now what? It is together, not space. It is together, not space. Football_Junkies Pod. Now for my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod. Football Junkies Pod. Now for my Blue Sky people, you can follow me there at GMKale. GMKAILE, as well as on Twitter at GMKale. GMKAILE. As always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys listening to another episode of the greatest football podcast that you can listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And stay tuned because our second episode of the Stack and Shed series should be coming out fairly soon. You just got to give me some time, all right? So as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. This is your GM Kale signing out. Peace and love. Later, guys.